Hey, have you ever wondered why our world looks the way it does these days? Sure, there are a mix of architectural styles, however, most of them predate the modern times. But this one particularly stands out and has particularly defined modern architecture and the entire modernist architectural moment. Well, if you already know it, congratulations. And well, if you don't know, just know it's all thanks to the most influential design school in history, the Bauhaus, or Bauhaus, or however you would like to pronounce it. I do not know how to pronounce it, and I'll do my. I'll. You know what, fuck it. I'll just call it the Bauhaus. So, from fonts to furniture, this is how Bauhaus created the aesthetic of the modern world. So you might be asking, what exactly is the Bauhaus, you or dramatic fuck? Well, I'll be summarizing everything about the Bauhaus and its influences, along with its history, its origins, and its influences, and what you can see in the modern day about it. But anyways, let's get back on point. So, the Bauhaus. The Bauhaus was a German school of art, architecture, and design that was founded by Walter Gropius in 1919. It aimed to create a comprehensive artwork that integrated all the arts and crafts, and to bring art back into contact with everyday life. Bauhaus style was characterized by its functional geometric and minimalist aesthetic, prioritizing form over function. Influenced by modernism and other avant-garde movements, Bauhaus art had spanned various mediums such as paintings, graphics, typology, furniture, ceramics, metalwork, and textiles. Basically, most forms of designs that you see nowadays. Bauhaus architecture and subsequently design was based on rational and modular principles, using industrial materials and techniques. Following the post World War II post everything into the post industrial world, Bauhaus interior design was focused on creating comfortable and practical spaces, with an emphasis on light, color, and form. While in the 19th century, architecture, art, and design were all about the past. This was the age of revivalism, where everything was built in and or designed in historical styles, where every structure and creation paid homage to historical styles. And it was also a pretty maximalist era, where decoration, detail, color, and ornamentation were in fashion. However, times were not always great for the revivalism style, and this was met with counter revolts, where the first revolt against revivalism was Art Nouveau. I am so sorry if I mispronounced that, which literally translates to New Art in French. It emerged from Belgium in the 1890s and quickly took over the world. This was a paradigm shift, a departure from the trains of tradition, as Art Nouveau embraced a sumptuous aesthetic characterized by flowing lines and organic shades. This was a new style, not changed in the past, a luxurious aesthetic of flowing lines and natural forms. Although, by the end of the First World War, Art Nouveau was exhausted, and a new movement rose up to take its place, Art Deco. Gone were the flowing curves. This was an aesthetic of straight lines, bold angles, and machine-like geometry, embodying the very essence of futuristic, decadent, dramatic, and exciting designs. Art Deco wasn't just a style, it was an aesthetic revolution of some sorts, like how Art Nouveau or Revivalism was. It embodied the spirit of a new era, more futuristic, decadent, and a pretty dramatic impression at that, as we've already said about. We can see the influences of Art Deco, particularly in the Chrysler Building in New York City, in the streamlined teardrop shape of the automobiles of the 1930s and such, and more such examples that I'm too lazy to pinpoint, okay? But, anyways, to summarize, in a world hungry for change, Art Deco was the embodiment of modernity in that time, paving the way for a new chapter in design. However, like any other change or trend throughout history, the days of Art Deco were also frankly numbered. The world was changing rapidly at that, with industrialization, globalization, rising population, and constant new inventions or revolutions in existing things. Say electricity, cars, radio, cinema, reinforced concrete, and much, much more. So, could the old ways of design adapt to this new world? Well, let's go back in time to the early 1900s. While the 1900s were far from a utopia, unlike what most Gen Z TikTok would claim otherwise in a nostalgia that they've never lived through, there was some stuff going on. Particularly in this case, a radical architect called Adolf Loos was in ruffling feathers in Vienna. I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, but getting back to topic, because he's designing buildings without any ornamentation whatsoever. Basically, his designs were absolutely clean and stripped back. He delivers a lecture called Ornament and Crime, and he has this to say. I have reached the following conclusion which I shall give to the world. The evolution of culture is equivalent to the removal of ornamentation from the utilitarian objects. Ornamentation means squandered manpower. Into squandered health, it has always been so. But today is also means squandered material, and both together means squandered capital. What a fucking nerd. Anyways, Lewis realized that new technology was dragging the world into an era of standardization. When people make things by hand, they instinctively decorate them. And we have always been making literally everything by hand since the dawn of civilization. Basically, the opposite of standardized, unlike what we see nowadays. And of course, however, this tradition was more so suited to a world of artisans and craftsmen than one of machines and mass production. In other words, Art Nouveau and Art Deco designs were not exactly suitable for mass production, as they lacked the tools needed to mass design and produce them. So Lewis argued for the use of pure and ornamental materials instead, and he has also made another speech about this. Every material has its own formal language, and no material can lay claim to the forms of another material for itself. Material must be divided again. Materials are nothing less than mysterious substances. We should be deeply and reverentially astonished that anything of the kind was ever made. Bear in mind that noble material and good work does not merely compensate for a lack of ornament, but we are far superior to it in terms of exquisiteness. We have swapped more glorious things for the ornamentation of earlier periods. Fine materials is a miracle of God. I would gladly give all the works of Lalier or all the jewelry of the Wiener Werkstatt for a precious pearl necklace. Oh my god, I can't do this German accent. My throat fucking hurts. Oh fuck. Getting back to point. Loos influenced a generation of others who were, like him, pretty anxious to find an aesthetic for the industrial world to meet the demands of a rapidly growing and changing world. One of them was the infamous Le Corbusier, who would go on to become the most influential architect of the 20th century, albeit a very notorious figure, especially due to his suggested Plan Racine, which sought to revamp and rebuild a large part of the city centre of Paris, replacing the narrow streets, monuments, and houses with giant 60-story cruciform towers placed within an orthogonal street grid and parked in a park-like green space. But all controversies aside, Le Corbusier, had also played a large part, particularly in the brutalism architecture style. Some of his works which can still be seen today, but by Toulouse. Actually, speaking of him, he had this to say about Art Deco. The desire to decorate everything is one is a false spirit and an abominable small perversion. The relation of beautiful materials is in its final death agony, the almost hysterical onrush in recent years towards this quasi-orgy of Deco was only the last spasm of a that already made predictable. Architecture finds itself confronted with new laws, Construction has undergone innovation so great that the old styles which still obsess us can no longer court it. The materials employed evade the attentions of the decorative artists. There is so such novelty in the form. My god, I cannot fucking do this accent. Anyways, there is so much novelty in the forms and rhythms furnished from these constructional methods, such as novelty in arrangement and in the new industrial programs, that we can no longer close our minds to the true and profound laws of architecture, which are also established on mass, rhythm, and proportion. These styles that no longer exist. They are outside of our ken. If they still trouble us, it is as parasites. If we set ourselves against the past, we are forced to the conclusion that the old architectural code with its mass of rules and regulations evolved during 4,000 years is no longer of any interest. It no longer concerns us. All the values have been revised. There has been a revolution in the conception of what architecture is. Jam. I think he hates ornamentation and maximalism. I don't know though. He probably might. Anyways, oh, and now we get to the actual subject of the video. The the Bauhaus, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. As you all will now know by this point, the Bauhaus was a German school of art set up in 1919 for architecture and design, whose style was characterized by functional geometric and minimalist architecture, blah blah blah. Walter Gropius was its leader, and other members included the likes of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and Michel Breuer, blah blah blah. I mean, their campus in Dessau, designed by Gropius and opened in 1926, tells you everything. Talk about putting it all in your face. Their goal was to find an aesthetic suited to mass production and standardization, not only in architecture, but across all elements of design, from furniture, building, automobiles, all the way to fonts. Yeah, fucking fonts. And thus they utilize steel, plastic, and board instead of the stained glass, bronze, and hardwood of the Nouveau or Deco in a bid to make it more akin to mass industrialized production, by which the modern world would have been subsequently defined by. There was beauty in clean surfaces and unornamented materials, as Loos has said, and the Bauhaus had proved it. They created simple and rather functional objects with tubular steel, board, and plastic, whether chairs or lamps or chess sets, based on rational modular principles as we noted earlier. A key principle of the Bauhaus was form follows function. The world we live in has been scaled up by applying this principle of design. It's literally a thought process. In design school, it's the foundation for everything you learn these days. If you can see, you will know that the world is now filled with minimalism, plastic, and chrome, if you will. But as you all will now know, again, once upon a time it wasn't. So something like this door handle, designed by Gropius, looks like our standard modern aesthetic, right? But at that time, this sort of thing was strange as it sounds, revolutionary. For its time, and subsequently defines our modern times, so it pretty much worked. Somehow, in 1922, an international competition was held to design the Tribune Tower in Chicago. A new Gothic design by Raymond Hood has won, a sign of the times. But you'll need to only look at designs submitted by Loos, Gropius, and several other aspiring modernists for a sign of things to come. The first architectural test of this movement was an exhibition in Stuttgart in 1927. Its goal was to show that, yeah, modern architecture could actually provide cheap, healthy, and high quality housing for the masses, those being the working middle classes. Gropius and Breuer, along with Le Corbusier, have designed houses for it. If you look in the present, the what the fuck? Weisenhof estate looks utterly ordinary. That is precisely because the Bauhaus was so influential, and it's an example of the Bauhaus style in practice. But if there were outsiders and radicals in the 1920s, An age dominated by Art Deco and the final echoes of Revivalism, then that begs the question, how exactly did they change the world? Well, before we get to that, there has been an important event in history which had almost brought the entire Bauhaus movement into just confined to the history books, if any would have been even written. As the event in question was World War II, and with World War II and the subsequent rise of Nazism, which was, well, in Germany, which was also where the Bauhaus was conveniently located. So, in 1933, the at that time new Nazi regime had shut down the Bauhaus, accusing them of degeneracy and communist leanings. And so they have subsequently fled, taking their ideas with them, eventually arriving in the United States of America, where Gropius, Mies, and Brewer had all settled. And as you will know, most of the world, especially Europe and Asia, were heavily in need of repair and reform, as after the war, the world needed both to rebuild and to accommodate the growing global population, as much of the cities have been destroyed from the war. But there was a question: how exactly will you do that? Well, Bauhaus had already found a solution to that. You see, using concrete and steel glass, which was absolutely based in functionality and being unornamented, we could build quickly and cheaply at a mass production scale. And well, by the 1950s, the Bauhaus architecture, also known as the International Style, had conquered the world as we know it today. It's kind of hard to imagine how exciting and futuristic this style must have seemed at first, with giant, tall glass skyscrapers and modern high rises standing out amongst cities filled with the creaking and clutter of stone buildings of the olden times, if they were even standing after the war, that is. So the Bauhaus triumphed for several decades in the making, insane foreshadowing, if you will, but it came eventually, albeit inevitable, as they had sensed the future and had created a minimalist, functional, industrial aesthetic for it. The aesthetic of a modern world in all shapes and forms, whether of crockery or skyscrapers. Hell, even fucking fonts and typefaces have been reshaped at the Bauhaus and their ideas about minimalism and function. Like, say, although sans serif typefaces go back into the 19th century, it was only after Bauhaus that they really became popular. The font, it's like, say, this font itself is sans serif. Yeah. The minimalist design of Apple, the plethora of flat pack furniture in IKEA, these are all children of the Bauhaus. Adolf Loos once said, I have a mouse, Victor. I have liberated humanity from superfluous ornamentation. Yeah, little could he have known how right he was. Good God, master foreshadower. Although, however, not all minimalism was and is equal. Those Bauhaus designers were aesthetic masters, and much that has since been created is not exactly elegantly designed, which is an opinion shared by quite a lot of people, judging by the number of people whining on Twitter every goddamn day. This world is being filled with thoughtlessness, knockoff minimalism. It feels cheap rather than stylish, boring instead of sleek. Bauhaus had emerged from a maximalist world, and it had ushered in an age of minimalism. They had successfully found an aesthetic suited to the mass production of the modern era. But now we are saturated with it. Perhaps the excitement has worn off from being used to it for so long, and its quality is also degrading these days. So, has minimalism run its course? Well, with the rise of revolutionary styles throughout history, with modernism pioneered by the Bauhaus also being a revolution, we have yet to see the rise of another such revolution in all forms of design. So we can't be sure if minimalism, rampant in today's world, has really run its course. I mean, just look at modern day company logos and they may not seem as such. At least it seems as such for the time being, I guess. Man, what the fuck have they done to logos? They used to be an art. Anyways, so, do we now long for detail, as people a century ago have longed for simplicity? Could maximalism make a comeback? Is it even possible? Well, the pendulum of fashion always swings one way, then another, and each generation reacts to what came before it. What is the future of design exactly? Well, there isn't a clear answer, because one, you can't predict the future, and well, we never know. Again, it is up to us to start a revolution in some way pioneered by innovation and creative desire. Ultimately, it is a subjective matter as far as the design styles are concerned. After all, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, as they say, as beauty is inherent and a reflection of values from the culture, the period, or the era. And the underlying impression that the builders want to make, design is always in motion and evolving, and is influenced by humans discovering new things, being influenced by them, and reflecting these ideas in their creations. But if you have made it so far into this video, congratulations. This is my first video in this style of content talking about stuff, in this case, modern design and architecture. If you all like this new form of content on this channel, for my new and existing Euro bases alike, then please do mention so in my comments or anywhere else. I also have a Patreon page if you would like to support me in my YouTube journey, which really helps as it motivates me to make more content for you. I'll also be taking video ideas from you guys, where you can suggest ideas or participate in polls that I'll be hosting on my community section. If you all are interested in that, that is. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do like and subscribe. Or no, that's up to you. I don't really fucking care, bro. I'm all signing out. Peace.